Hello and welcome back to my channel. I would like to start by apologizing for the lack of videos the last 2 months. I've been really busy with revision and I also had hay fever, so I couldn't really speak for some days without coughing or sneezing. Um, so I do apologize for that. Anyway, for this month of June, I will try and release 2 videos, but since I still have an exam left, I can't promise that I will be able to release a video, release another video towards the end of the month. But anyway, here's the video for today, and I hope you enjoy it. For those who are new to my channel, welcome. I'm that medic couch potato. I make random videos for fun. Today's episode will be on the village of Hartington, which is in the Peak District. So let's get started. Here is a map of the UK, as well as parts of Europe, and where the red pin is where Hartington is based. So if I was to zoom in a bit more to Hartington, it's kind of in the central-ish part of England. Yeah. And if I was to zoom in a bit more, it's in the southern part of the Peak District National Park. And here's the actual village itself. So let's just zoom out for a bit, and I want to talk about the Peak District before I go into more about the village. So the Peak District National Park is an area in England, mostly situated in Derbyshire region, so Derbyshire province, and parts of the national park also extends into Manchester, so Greater Manchester, and Cheshire to the west, as well as also into like Staffordshire region in the southwest. Parts of it also extends into West Yorkshire at the north here, it's not far from home first, and also into South Yorkshire, so it does go quite close to Sheffield, as you can see on the map here. So it's a very big national park area, and it includes something called the Dark Peak. So that has a lot of moorland, and it's quite a higher and wilder part of the Peak District. And it's mostly in the northern section, so north of this area here, but also extends into like the south, so kind of into the east a bit, also at the western margins. But parts of it as well, because it does extend quite far down. It does go into Staffordshire to the south here, Chester, Greater Manchester to the west, as well as Sheffield into South Yorkshire, sorry, in the east, and also West Yorkshire to the north. So it covers quite a big portion of the peaks. And it's called the Dark Peak because it actually has underlying limestone to it, and it's covered by a cap of millstone grit sandstone, with a softer shale underneath. So this means in the winter the soil is almost always saturated with water. The land is actually largely uninhabited, more than plateaus, and almost any depression that you find there is filled with sphagnum box and black peat. The high peak is another name for the dark peak, as well because I think it's quite high up in terms of latitude as well. So lots of places to visit in the Dark Peak should you wish to do so. And I think places like Stocksbridge, which is in Yorkshire, Hathersage, which is actually I think more into the peaks, yeah, here, and Chapel Enleyfirth, which is here. They are places that you can visit. That's part of the. I think they're on the boundaries, rather, sorry, of the peaks, or the Dark Peak. There's also other places you can visit as well. Just sort of Google it basically. And then you have the White Peak, which is kind of more south, I think I would say. It's also called the Low Peak. It's a limestone plateau, hence why it's called White Peak. And it forms like the central and southern part of the Peak District, like I said. It's mostly between 270 meters, so 900 foot, to 430 meters, so 1,400 foot above about sea level. I think the dark peak is a lot more higher than that. But like some of the principal like upland areas, they do rise over 600 meters, so 2,000 foot in the dark peak. So areas like Kinder Scout and Bleaklow as well. So there are some higher areas in dark peak, but basically for the low peaks, the white peaks, rather, the range is from 270 meters, so 900 foot, to 430 meters, so 1,400 feet rather, above sea level. So yeah, so that's just a bit about the Peak District. So it's a very geologically rich area, the Peak District. So like I said, White Peaks is mostly limestone area, hence why it's called White Peaks, as the limestone is white in color. There's also a lot of like valleys and gorges that you can see in the White Peaks, should you wish to go so. So Hartington, I believe, happens to be in the center of the White Peaks, and it lies on the River Doe, which is kind of westwards. So this is the river that goes here, the River Doe. So it has a lot of like nice walking paths to the river, should you wish to, walk around the area. So according to the census, in the last 20 or so years, back in 2001 census, the population was around 345 people. This reduced to 332 in the 2011 census, and I think now it's around 300 people, and I think they're all based in this central area. Because Hartington has like different wards as well. When I was trying to Google the census, I think parts of it also come out of the boundary line. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think most of the population do live kind of in the central area, and it's around 300 people as of 2021. And it's known for a lot of things, so cheese making, for example. You can still get cheese if you wish to do so. This is one of the shops that's situated. It's called the Hartington Cheese Shop, and it was actually one of the places in England that made cheese. Let me see if I can show you a street view of what the cheese shop looks like. But there was also limestone and ironstone and lead production of the city as well, of the village, sorry. And I think now it's mostly just a tourist area. This is just the village center. As you can see, quite a lot of different buildings depending on what you want to get. So this is the cheese shop right here that I mentioned. It's called the Old Cheese Shop. Here's a duck pond that's currently being inhabited by these ducks. Not quite sure what the breed is. This road up here is a church road, and it does actually take you up to St. Giles Parish Church. So this is that's a good view there. This is a 13th century parish church of St. Giles. St. Giles was also known as the Giles the Hermit, and he was a hermit or monk who was active in the Lower Rhone area, I think there's a river in France and Switzerland. And he most likely lived in the 6th century, and he, was basically a saint, and apparently he was one of the 14 holy helpers as well. There's a lot of legends around him as well. But yeah, you can Google him online. So this church here is dedicated to him. So yeah. So you can actually, I think you can go inside. I've not actually been inside. I only had the look. I looked from inside. From outside. Sorry. So here I can show you some images of the church. It's an Anglican church now, so it belongs to the Church of England. This is what it looks like inside, and also from like different views of the church, or from the church as well, that you can see here. This looks like it was taken in the summer, yeah, July 2019. So parish churches are usually quite a big part of like activity during during in the village itself. So I'm guessing this at one point would have been a pretty popular place to like come in for daily worship, etc. I don't know how often the church is now open to public. I'm sure you can find out on the website as well, where you can go. Oops, cookies. Yeah, so oh yeah, it's open between hours of 10 till 4. So you can go in and visit if you wanted to as well. I'll put the link up for the church, as well as all the other things I mentioned on my on the description box, so do look out for them as well. So the other like popular place in Hartington is the Hartington Hall, which is now a youth hostel. Let's see if I can get you a street view of the place. Okay, so I'm gonna go in, I just have to show you pictures instead. So this is the view from the outside. Let's see if I can get you a little angle. Yeah, so this is what Hartington Hall looks like. So it was built in the 17th century, or like rather extended and altered in the 17th century. So it's a manor house, which originally was built by the Bateman family in the 16th century. So 1611 was when the first original hall was built, and then in 1862 it was altered and extended. And it's actually built in a H plan, I believe, with the main entrance. So this is the main entrance here. And has 3 stories and 3 gabled bays. The central bay recessed with an off center porch entrance, so you had to enter through the side basically. And you can see the recordings of the buildings when they were built and altered in the lintel above the door when you enter. It is now a Grade 2 listed building. And the Batemans, this is like another view from a different angle. So the Batemans remained in Hartington until the 20th century, and in 1934 the property was opened as a youth hostel by the Youth Hostel Association, YHA for short, and it became a property of them in 1948. So it still has dormitory accommodation, also like small rooms with ensuite facilities, along with a restaurant that's open to public and guests. It's also used as a wedding venue should you wish to, get married here. And it's also claimed that the bony Prince Charles, who was one of the Stuart claimants to the thrones of England, apparently stayed here during the Jacobite Rising of 1745. So this is just an interior section of the hall. You can see that some of the old structures still remain. This is just another view. So these are now used as like relaxation booths for visitors to come and stay in. I actually came to Hartington back in October 2020 as part of my Duke of Edinburgh Award Gold Expedition. Because it was the COVID year, we were given a lot of like we were allowed to stay. We were given a lot of accommodations basically, like to complete the award, and one of it was to like stay in a youth hostel for the rest of the duration of my gold award. So I actually stayed here for 4 nights in Hartington Hall. Yeah, 4 days, 4 nights rather, from like the end of October until like the beginning of November. And we actually spent Halloween in Hartington, which was really nice because the weather was kind of spooky, so it did feel spooky. And part of the requirements for the DAV is to have a bunker bed to share like the living accommodation with friends and family. So this is what the bunker bed looks like. So if you're here to share with your friends or with your family, this is what the hostel looks like, dormitories. This is what the kitchen looks like, which people can eat. However, if you're doing your DAV, you know that you can't really eat food. Here, you had to make your own. For that, they actually had a shared kitchen. A lot of hostels do have a shared kitchen in the UK. So you can sit and eat here should you wish to do so. And a lot of the rooms as well have ensuite bathrooms. So the one I stayed in accommodated 4 people, and we had a toilet and a bathroom in ours. And our 5th member, he stayed in a shared in a separate room, but that he had to share the facilities. They also have a bar in here as well, and restaurants as well. And they do have a menu, which I don't know how accurate this particular menu is now. We'll have to look it up when we get them. But this is what the food was being served back in 2019. So I'm just trying to get you a picture of like the other facilities that they have as well. This is the back of the hall, or towards the back, and they do have an outdoor sink. So if you need to wash your shoes, for example, because your boots are already muddy from walking, they do have an outdoor sink that you can do that. They also have a laundry room. Unfortunately, it wasn't. We couldn't use it because of COVID, but it is there. The laundry here, and they also had a drying room, so you can keep your boots, your wet walking boots, and your other shoes as well, and coats in here to dry. And the heating's on, and it's fairly safe. Like, none of my stuff or my friend's stuff got stolen. We left it overnight when we got there, and the boots do take a while to dry out. Just an FYI, but it does mean that you can reduce taking muddy boots into your room. They also have places to sit and eat outside as well, if you want to. And the Hartington Hall also has like glamping pods, and I think they're called not I call them wagons, but I think they're actually called cabins, and land pods. So they look a bit like this. The land pods, they look like these wagons, and you can actually stay inside. Usually, I think 2 people can fit in there, maybe 4 if you got little kids. And then these premium bell tents as well, which are basically just a fancy tent with like beds, so you don't have to camp, especially if the floor is wet. And the views are pretty nice as well. They do look into the peaks. So yeah. You can get normal rooms as well without the bunk beds, private rooms. But just an FYI, the costs are a bit more for the private rooms, depending on availability and etc. But shared room, if you have 6 people sharing, you can save a lot of money. So yeah, they also have lockers in their rooms as well. So if you don't want to carry everything, for example, you can't lock them. So pretty convenient place. By the way, it's not an ad. I just happened to stay here during my DOE, so it was like I really enjoyed it, so I thought it'd be nice to recommend it to people as well. So the YHA Hartington website, I will also provide it in the description box as well. So yeah, so Hartington is popular, like I said, obviously for the cheese, but one of its main attractions is the fact that it's actually really close to 2 major national cycle network routes, so the Tithington Trail and the High Peak Trail. And the trails pass just under 1 mile, so 1,500 meters to the east of the village, and they offer 30 miles, so around 50 kilometers of off-road cycling and walking along the old railway track beds throughout the National Peak District as well. You also have the Hartington Signal Box, that's on the site of the former Hartington railway station. I think that's around 2 miles, so 3 kilometers from the village. Let's see if I can find it on here. Hartington Railway railway station. Let's see if I can. Okay. Okay. That's what it looks like. Now this little station, and it actually opened back in 1899, about 2 miles away from the village, and it served Hartington in Derbyshire. And if you can actually walk past it, just an FYI, if you're coming in the summer or when the weather's better, you will have a nicer walk. Like I said, I went in October, so we went past this Hartington line, but it was raining pretty much like the whole way that we were there. And because it was quite high up as well, in terms of altitude, it was windy, not a nice experience. So like, yeah, you can cycle here as well. But just dress for the weather if you're coming when it's rainy and snowing. Unfortunately, the railway is no longer in use. I think the station, yeah, I'm not sure when. Yeah, 1954 was when regular passenger service ended, but excursions continued until 1963. And eventually, I think 1964, the track to Ashburn, that's like kind of south of Hartington, that was stopped, so it's no longer used anymore. However, you can still walk or cycle should you wish to do so. Cycling definitely recommended. It is fairly an even path for cycle this area anyway around the train line, and this is just what the train the Chessington trail shows. So yeah, do actually do that, especially if you're interested in walking or cycling. Something else I would like to point out, I didn't get a chance to go here. We were supposed to go here, but the weather was just so bad that we turned back. This is the Arbor Law Stone Circle and Gibb Hill Barrow. So Stone Circle, kind of like the Stonehenge Stone Circle, but a bit more smaller, way more smaller rather, and the Stone Circle is more buried. So this is the barrow, and I think it was a Neolithical settlement. Yeah, it's free to visit. You just have to park your car. There is a car park, I think, somewhere near it. And it's a prehistoric site. It's one of the most important prehistoric sites of East Midlands. And there's I think around 50 of these limestone slabs that are now fallen, and they form like a central cove, and apparently this is a feature that's found only in major sacred sites. You do have to pay for parking, I think maybe £1 or so per person. Yeah, it's managed by the English Heritage site, and I will put a link up to that as well, should you wish to do so. But if you are walking with dogs, just an FYI, there's a lot of animals that graze here, cows and sheep, etc. So please put them on a leash, because you don't want to scare the wildlife or the grazing animals. Not a nice experience being chased by a cow. So yeah, don't do that. Other routes I can take is obviously walking by the River Dove, providing that there are decent trails. Another way as well that you can walk is the Manifold Ways, that's actually a cycling route. It does go quite a lot of distance as well. And there's a lot of camping areas near it if you don't want to stay in Hartington. One attraction, I walked past this and didn't actually go into it, is Thor's Cave. It's this big cave, and it's looks a bit like this, high up, and it's actually one of the most iconic landmarks of the Peak District. And there's actually a hiking trail to it, and it takes around 3 hours to hike. And that hiking trail is a mixture of open parts and like actual like parts that have been set, so open ground rather and parts as well. And I think you can go inside. Just be careful in case it's slippery. You can go inside if you want to do so as well. So it does actually face the river manifold, which is where we had lunch. So let me just go back to the map for you. So if the Thor's cave is here, the river manifold kind of faces it, and some really nice spots to have lunch. And this is the trail that I mentioned, Thor's cave trail. Again, I'll put the link up for it on the description box as to where you can park your car, for example, especially if you're driving in to the peaks. So in terms of access to the Peak District, I recommend having a car. So the nearest airport I would say is possibly Manchester Airport. That's the main international airport near the Peak District. So yeah, so I would definitely rent a car from here and drive in to the Peak District. It makes your life a lot easier if you can actually drive around. Just an FYI, because the Peak District is quite high up, some of the roads are pretty narrow, so just be careful when you're driving. Even if the speed limit is 60 miles, just take care. Because there'll be like a lot of wildlife, a lot of walkers, grazing animals, cyclists like using the path as well. So just take care. So yeah, back to Hartington. So the creamery in the village was actually founded by one of the Dukes of Devonshire in the 1870s, hence why this hotel is called the Devonshire Arms. And it was one of the three sources of Stilton cheese, and also produced its own unique Dovedale cheese and also like the Buxton blue cheese. The factory actually closed in 2009 after being sold, but the cheese shop associated with the factory reopened under private ownership, so that's the old cheese shop that I mentioned. And a new smaller creamery was actually opened apparently by employers in 2014. I'm not sure where it's now based. That creamery. So yeah, just a random thought. So if you like your Stilton cheese, make sure that you try it out as well. So yeah, so that's just a bit about Hartington. It's probably one of my shortest videos I made. I'll put the link up for all the places I mentioned. But again, like I would just, if I was you, I would check out the maps, like and create your own holiday based around the Peak District. But definitely one place to visit is Hartington, especially if you want to stay in a quaint English village. Because it is quite quaint and it does look a bit English as well, with these limestone houses. So yep, so I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you guys next time.